Singer Chris Brown is under investigation for not having a permit for his pet monkey. California Department of Fish and Wildlife presented a search warrant for Brown's home after several people called in to report his December Instagram post of his daughter and a monkey. Authorities arrived to search his home in Tarzana. Brown wasn't home, but the monkey was surrendered voluntarily. The pop star could be charged with illegal possession of a restricted species.
Hey guys, it's me here, Comrade Lavender here, and today I'm back with another anti-capitalism, true crime, deep dive YouTube video topic. Today I want to do the part 3. This is part 3 of Pure Evil, the Pet Industry Files, part 3. Deep dive, capitalism, pet dog kidnapping, dog fighting, Tiger King drama, problematic celebrities, wildlife trafficking, the wildlife trade, etc.
A woman in Connecticut remains hospitalized in critical condition this morning after being viciously mauled by a chimpanzee on Monday, and police are still trying to determine what set off the attack. Michelle Geelan reports.
Sandy Harold, the owner of Travis the chimpanzee, says she keeps reliving the horror of her pet attacking her best friend.
It's a tragedy on both parts, for my friend and for him and me.
Her friend Charla Nash managed Harold's towing business, where Travis the chimp was a mascot.
He was my life.
Chimpanzees are not pets, no matter what social media tells you. Trading wild chimpanzees, including their meat and body parts, is illegal, and yet social media influencers and companies still reap profits and capitalism profits from sharing cute video footage and images of chimpanzees and other primates poached from the wild, all while sanctuaries worldwide continue to receive orphaned victims of this illicit trade. Over the past 40 years, Chimfungi has provided sanctuary to over 100 chimpanzees rescued from the pet and bushmeat industries. Chimpanzees are not native to Zambia, so why do these animals still keep ending up here under these circumstances? The fragmentation of chimpanzees and the the habitats makes it easier for poachers to hunt them. Chimpanzees are now listed as endangered by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature's Red List. Chimfungi is home to chimpanzees stolen from the wild and sold for sums as high as $10,000 or 7,900 pounds. Prior to the rescue, some of Chimfungi's chimpanzees were forced to surf for tourists, nearly drowning in the process, and smoke cigarettes and other capitalism atrocities. In these conditions, they are in an environment alien to their own species. The chimpanzees' natural inclinations to inhabited by chains or harsh training practices to keep them on their best behavior at all times for social media or tourists. Typically, pet chimps are unable to even interact with their own kind, preventing these incredibly social animals from knowing how to be themselves and having poor social skills. Like most primates that are imprisoned in human homes or used by the entertainment industry, such as circus industries, chimpanzees quickly outgrow their attraction as pets as they age. Their canines grow large, they become uncontrollably strong, and their behavior more erratic. For every chimp that is saved, many more are abandoned or killed when they can no longer be controlled. For a chimp to wear human clothing, play the piano, ride a skateboard, and hang out with tourists, paying over $700 or 560 pounds for a 10-minute session, so much suffering can occur. This is a cruel reality that cute TikTok videos and Instagram Reels neglect. Such content is pushed virally to our news feeds and our For You pages, regardless of whether the animal is a family dog, a cat, or a creature illegally poached in the wild. Research has found that depicting wild animals in human context can increase the desire of a viewer to buy their own exotic pet on a whim. But social media companies ignore this problem because this type of content drives considerable online engagement. The Instagram account for Lambie, a chimpanzee who lives in Miami, has nearly 800,000 followers.
Dog thefts are sweeping the USA. All of these dogs have recently been stolen as the demand for pet pooches during the pandemic is on the rise. Who can forget this dramatic footage of a woman clinging to the hood of a car as a dog napper tries to steal a puppy in Houston? In New York City, surveillance footage captured this dog thief making off with a dachshund named Luca, who was waiting for her owner outside a market. In San Francisco, this woman's beloved French bulldog Chloe was stolen at gunpoint.
I heard a voice a man's voice behind me that said, "Give me your dog." And I turned around because I didn't know what that meant. And I saw he had a gun held up.
Sarah Vorhouse's face is still bruised after being jumped by 3 goons outside her apartment at 5:45 p.m. while walking her dog.
He punched me twice in the face, and they ran off, and they took Chloe.
Surveillance footage shows the men run to a getaway car after the violent attack.
Thinking about the violent people who attacked me, being in charge of Chloe's care is the hardest thing in the world.
Inside the dark underworld of dog napping, it's late at night and a stranger walking down the alley sees your family dog sleeping on the porch inside your fenced yard. The stranger softly calls your dog over and begins to pet him. While checking to see if anyone is watching, he opens the gate, clips a leash onto your dog's collar, and leads him away, never to be seen again. The next morning, your family is distraught. When a neighbor's video surveillance footage reveals that your dog was stolen, you feel deeply violated. While the emotions described are implied, the circumstances are not. Reports suggest that dog thefts and dog thieves and dog nappings are on the rise in the United States. Losing a pet can be devastating, and it's a crime that repercussions go far beyond the animal's financial value. Many dog owners view their own pets as members of their family, and a 2020 study conducted found that the loss of a pet can have similar emotional impact to the loss of a loved one or family member. Working with criminal justice researcher J. Mitchell Miller, they studied 82 incidents of dog thefts captured on surveillance cameras posted online, and the videos we analyzed, about half of the thefts seemed to involve a single perpetrator operating alone. Around 38% appeared to have 2 perpetrators, while 9% involved 3 or more people working together. The thefts appeared to usually involve some planning and strategy. In our staple, nearly 38% of thieves used vehicles to transport the stolen pets. Approximately 3% used bicycles, and 50% fled on foot. These incidents involved the use of violence. 3 incidents involved the use of violence, including shoving an owner, and around 15% of the thefts include some form of force, such as breaking into a property. In roughly 37% of cases, the thieves are able to hide the animals using bags, clothing, or other methods. Thieves sometimes deploy distraction techniques. In one case, 2 thieves distracted a pet store clerk while others snatched a puppy from a display kennel by the front door. The vast majority of incidents, 74%, involved the theft of a single animal, were usually small dogs. According to the American Kennel Club, certain breeds, such as French Bulldogs and Yorkshire Terriers, are the most attractive targets. They're relatively small, and they tend to sell for higher prices than other breeds. About 68% of these thefts happened during the day, and 60% occurred indoors. Those that occurred inside tended to happen in pet stores rather than in people's homes. There are several reasons why someone might steal a dog. Some people do it to simply make a quick buck, a practice known as pet flipping, or to extract a ransom from the owner. Others have grander visions, targeting highly valued purebreds such as Rottweilers and Chow Chows to start a puppy mill breeding operation. Then there are those who steal pets for dogfighting rings, while some thieves simply just want a dog or pet for themselves and don't want to have to pay for it or go through the process of adoption.
Sarah Palin, you're worse than Michael Vick. You really make me sick. Ain't got no love for a canine killer.
Animal dogfighting has been brought to the forefront of the nation's attention by the highly publicized conviction of the NFL star quarterback Michael Vick and 3 of his associates on federal and state charges related to illegal dogfighting. Vick and his associates operated the amply named Bad News Kennels, which housed and trained over 50 pit bulls, dogs, staged dogfights, unalived dogs, and ran a high-stakes gambling illegal ring operation with purses up to $26,000. The co-conspirators set up the property for dogfighting venture. They built a fence along the side of the property so their activities would be concealed and not visible to the public. They buried car axles with heavy chains, a common method for securing fighting dogs, since the axle prevents the chain from tangling. The men tested the dogs in fights, then shot, electrocuted, or hung the dogs who did not perform well. In 2004, Vic had a 10-year, $130 million contract with the NFL. By 2006, he was the NFL's highest paid player. When Davidson Batty, Vic's cousin, was arrested on drug charges, he gave Vic's property as his address. Surrey County authorities searching the property found probable cause to obtain a second search warrant for animal cruelty/dog fighting. Police discovered approximately 54 dogs, mostly pit bulls, some with scars and injuries. Most were underfed and starving. Animal training and breeding equipment, including a rape stand, a device in which a female dog who is too aggressive to submit to males for breeding is strapped down with her head in a restraint. Performance-enhancing drugs commonly used to increase a fighting potential in dogs, as well as keep injured dogs, keeping them fighting longer. On World Otter Day in 2019, a new documentary film had been released that shined a light on the illegal trade in the Asian small-clawed otter, a species listed as vulnerable in the wild and in decline by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. Produced by wildlife photographer and filmmaker Aaron Gozowski for the wildlife charity World Animal Protection, Pet Otters, the truth behind the latest wildlife craze, an investigative project that reveals the poor conditions these wild animals endure and their unsuitability as pets. Corralled into tiny cages made to play with playing consumers at otter cafes, or kept as pets in private homes in places like Tokyo, Japan, and Indonesia. The business is highly profitable and may be linked to organized crime, according to the film's undercover investigation. Manga Bay interviewed Golotsky as the film was being released to hear what he learned. Tokyo has now more than half a dozen otters cafes, which variety in terms of contact with visitors are allowed, and the conditions their otters are kept in. At some of the cafes we visited, otters were confined to small rooms filled with people allowed to run riot. Others were locked in cages for the majority of the time and day. The otters' welfare was severely compromised for the entertainment of visitors, as Cassandra Cohen, global head of campaigns for World Animal Protection, noted. The otters are heard whimpering, shrieking, and making distress calls while customers are interacting with them. Some are kept in solitary confinement conditions with no natural light. Others are seen biting their claws and exhibiting traumatized post-traumatic stress disorder behavior. Some of the worst housing conditions include small cages with no access to water. During their lengthy investigation for World Animal Protection, we visited an otter community in Indonesia, multiple otter cafes in Japan, and otter celebrity in Tokyo, wild otter populations in the heart of Singapore, exotic pet marketers in Jakarta, and interviewed an undercover investigator unearthing links to the Japanese mafia. Along with this, we spoke to experts and conservationists to investigate this growing trend and the potential impacts on the otter populations. What we found was a highly complex network of organized crime. The trade in otters as pets is an interlinked trade network involving farmers, hunters, collectors, dealers, enforcement agencies, and transportation operatives. The explosion of the famous otters on social media trend is driving the demand for otters as pets, making it a lucrative capitalism business.
The FWC working to shut down an illegal snake trafficking ring. They arrested 8 people in connection to this crime. Some of them are well-established snake dealers on the black market. They're accused of selling some of the most dangerous of those reptiles. During Operation Viper, investigators discovered large shipments of non-native venomous snakes were being imported from all around the world. The agency warns the snakes could become a threat to Florida's wildlife if they were to escape.
The reptile dealer in Tiger King has a sketchy past. The infamous reptile dealer that led Tiger King producers to film Joe Exotic was arrested for smuggling exotic animals. While Tiger King followed big cat breeders with known violations of the Animal Welfare Act, reptile dealers such as Tom Crutchfield profit in the misery of reptiles. Best known for his sales of reptiles, Tom Crutchfield was one of the many reptile dealers caught in violations of the Lacey's Act and the Endangered Species Act. This 5-year probe into the international exotic animal smuggling ring was conducted by U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in the 1990s. According to the department's press release, those indicted, arrested, or persecuted included individuals from the United States, Canada, Germany, the Netherlands, South Africa, Japan, Malaysia, Hong Kong. Crutchfield, who pleaded guilty in 1999, was smuggling rare reptiles such as the Madagascar tree boas and the Madagascar ground boas into the United States. Both species face extinction in the wild where they're from due to poaching and habitat loss. Crutchfield admitted to smuggling more than 200 reptiles, including exotic turtles. After pleading guilty to 7 felony counts, he served 30 months in prison, performed 150 hours of community service, and served 3 years of supervised release for conspiracy, smuggling, and violations of the Lacey Act. Tom and Penny Crutchfield were once the largest dealers and importers of exotic reptiles in the United States, but in 1995, both were convicted for the illegal importation and the intent to sell Fiji-banded iguanas. Tom was sentenced to 17 months in federal prison and a $10,000 fine, while Penny was sentenced to 1 year probation and a $2,000 fine. Reptiles such as snakes, Crutchfield was convicted of smuggling into the U.S., suffer tremendously as exotic pets. In fact, at least 75% of pet snakes, lizards, tortoises, and turtles die within 1 year of becoming a pet. A World Animal Protection report, Suffering in Silence, found more than 3 million ball pythons have been exported from Benin, Ghana, and Togo over 45 years. Ball pythons in Europe and North America are captive bred and sold at reptile markets in conditions that fail to meet even their most basic needs.
At this very moment, giant African land snails, what state officials call an incredibly dangerous invasive species,
filled up a bag of invasive snails right before we stopped by. Yet,
you have them right in here.
There were still plenty left behind.
There's a fourth one right there.
Jay's friend next door to his landscaping equipment repair shop sells plants. But right now, that business is on hold.
Right now, he's been instructed not to remove any of these plants.
That's because this area is under quarantine, where you can't remove plants, soil, yard waste, or debris. And the only people who can remove these snails are the professionals. The snails feed on more than 500 plant species, posing a major threat to the environment.
Well, I think anybody who's involved in animal trafficking is a despicable human being.
Wildlife trafficking is the 4th largest transnational organised crime, worth over $450 billion a year. We're told the culprits are often affiliated with weapons, drugs and sex trafficking.
We need to make sure criminals understand that we've got more resources than ever on catching and convicting.
Thousands of Australian species, from cockatoos to kangaroos, are being traded overseas.
Definitely we're a target. There's a lot more Australian species outside the country in trade than we were originally aware of.
Australia's pet industry includes hundreds of spineless bug species. In their new research, they explored the rapidly growing trend in trade in land-based invertebrates across 23 Australian online pet stores and one popular classifieds website. They found an astonishing 264 species trade online, from spiders to scorpions to beetles to snails. The most common advertised species were stick insects, tarantulas, and ants. They found a staggering 57 species of all ant for sale. While most of the invertebrates were native to Australia, they also exposed a trade in 3 highly invasive alien species: the white garden snail, the Asian tramp snail, and the African big-headed ant. All pose serious threats to Australia's biosecurity. They threaten agriculture, forestry, and even public health. Occasionally, exotic pets escape from captivity or are purposely released by their owners. Examples include the Mexican red-rump tarantula, now established alien species in Florida, and the giant African land snail, which causes millions of dollars worth of damage to native plants, native biodiversity, and agriculture crops in many countries all over the world. Invertebrates are traded across the internet, including the dark web, where they've been found they found species such as Goliath beetles and Chinese golden scorpions for sale. They also found native Australian invertebrates being traded at European wildlife expositions. Invertebrates are thought to make up almost 95% of animal species, yet they are often neglected in research and conservation. Most invertebrate extinctions go unnoticed. Some species were advertised as wild harvested, meaning they were taken from the wild rather than bred in captivity. This is an immediate conservation concern for native Australian species, especially with those small portions, sizes, and limited distribution. Then invertebrate trade in Australia is poorly regulated industry, and the fine line between what is considered legal or illegal is often unclear. However, collecting species from protected areas such as national parks without a permit is definitely illegal across Australia. The extent of wild harvesting on both public and private land is largely unknown, but it is highly likely that illegal activity is occurring within Australia's invertebrate trade. 200,000 of Peru's primates trafficked for the pet trade or bushmeat yearly. Lima's central markets are framed for sprawling mazes of interconnected shops, and some of these wildlife shops are being sold for the pet industry illegally, with only cursory attempts made to conceal blatant ventures into illegal wildlife trade. Police vigilance has repeatedly closed these shops, but just as often as they're reopened again. Though perpetrators are increasingly cautious, the pet trade and hunting trades are inexorably linked. In the cases of primates, bushmeat hunters often kill parent animals for food, then bring home the infant or juvenile or their baby primates that they then sell to the pet market industry. In 1991, a study of woolly monkey hunting in Peru revealed that two-person hunting teams regularly hunted as many as 12 animals in a single group. At least 10 females were killed for every infant sold as a pet, with this ratio increasing for juveniles. Generally speaking, the most common primates hunted as bushmeat, while rarer or more charismatic animals are collected for the pet trade industry. The study indicates that most trafficked primates are harvested from the country's eastern forests and then moved to the western coastal cities for export. The number of primates being trafficked today are believed to be on par with the levels before the ban on wildlife trafficking was introduced in Peru in 1973, with over 100,000 primates exported legally each year for biomedical research in the United States and elsewhere. And then the new study reveals the harsh realities of the day-to-day pet trade. Most primates are to be sold. Our pets are kept in poor conditions, held in cramped cages or collared and tied to a post, underfed, and often on the brink of exhaustion and collapse. Over 66% of pet primates are infants, juveniles, or subadults. So at a time in a young primate's life when social interaction matters most, the animal singly housed in isolation from its family. She posed in Thailand with a slow loris, an endangered primate that is often illegally touted on the streets of Southeast Asia by pet dealers. The picture, which the celebrity shared on her Instagram, went viral, and over the weekend, Thai police arrested two men who were allegedly providing the slow loris to Rihanna for the photo op. According to the loris expert, Anna, poachers steal baby lorises from the wild, often killing their mothers in order to take their young. The young lorises have their teeth pulled out with pliers or other implements in order to make them appealing to pet owners and less likely to deliver a poisonous bite. Many of them practically impossible to breed in captivity. More than 200,000 of Rihanna's followers have seen her Instagram posts. The power of celebrities to endorse behavior can be seen again, with the majority of responses supporting her behavior, and it has effects on the animals, Many of them don't survive the harsh conditions and unsuitable diets long enough to be sold. Poachers have to keep a steady stream of the smuggled lorises since they are practically impossible to breed in captivity. And, it encourages the exotic pet trade, and celebrities need to stop, promoting the exotic pet trade. Beyonce tiger controversy. World Animal Protection Charity disgusted as pop star uses endangered animal as a plaything. Cabbage pigs are known to treat animals like props. Don't believe me? Look at the Gucci tiger ad campaign. They're treating tigers like props and shit. And Beyonce has been slammed by Wildlife Charity after sharing snaps of her and Blue Ivy, her daughter, petting a tiger cub. Many tourists unwittingly contribute to the suffering of wild animals like this. They're simply not aware that their once-in-a-lifetime photo shoot with the tiger cub means a lifetime of capitalism misery for the animal. She went on to explain the tigers used for these kinds of photographs are often crammed, and the tiny cages are chained to the floor for long periods of time, and they suffer. Dr. Shamit Burchin said they also forcibly removed from their mothers so they can be fed artificially by tourists.
For many people, it's their first pet, the humble goldfish. Swimming in a tank in your house, it's hard to imagine it's much of a threat. But when released into a Great Lake, a goldfish can imperil the fragile ecosystem of the largest freshwater system in the world.
Pet owners grappling with unwanted fish are often faced with a dilemma.
I had asked a few people that had ponds if they wanted them, but nobody wanted them, so I really didn't know what I was going to do with them.
Across the border in Erie, Pennsylvania, Neely Irwin was the reluctant owner of an unusually named goldfish that was quickly outgrowing its tank.
He was named that one because every time someone would come in the house, they would just go, that one. And I'm like, yeah, that's his name. He's the hugest.
Under the right conditions, goldfish can actually live up to 30 to 40 years. And this can leave their owners in deep water. That's why the Erie Zoo started a one-of-a-kind pet project last year.
This is our Last Chance Lagoon. This is the main pond.
The Last Chance Lagoon gives unwanted goldfish and koi a luxurious new home, a 23,000-gallon tank in the heart of the zoo. But according to Erie Zoo's Heather Gula, the primary function of the project is to educate the public.
We want to teach them about invasives because that is a big problem on the Great Lakes. We also want to teach them about proper pet care and expectations. That is something that a lot of zoos work on educating the public about because you have a lot of people that want exotic pets or bring in some of those that they just don't know how to care for.
The Last Chance Lagoon intake forms tell the story of floundering fish owners.
This one's name is Pumpkin Bob. The owner did not realize how long they would live. They did get Pumpkin Bob at a fair, and he was living in a 1-gallon tank.
Along with about 50 other fish, Pumpkin Bob is now tank mates with Irwin's fish, that one, who's been living in the lagoon since last fall.
It's that one! Be free! They needed something better. I was very, very grateful that I could put him in here, and now I can visit him.